Let's bring in Jan Rosenow, Professor of Energy and Climate at Oxford University, former advisor to the IEA as well. Nice to see you, Jan. May I ask you, first of all, because I can just remember the petrol rationing 26 years ago. I remember the queues, the frustration, the anger, directed much of it to our politicians. And I'm reading today that petrol and diesel rationing could be on the cards again.
It could indeed, and the IEA have set out a sort of 10-point plan around cutting demand. Part of that will be rationing, but it could also be what they call behavior change. Sort of people turning down their heating would have been a sort of a very well-known measure from the last crisis. Of course, that's less relevant now as we move into the shoulder season and the summer months. But roughly speaking, from past experience, in the short term, you can cut energy demand by about 10% by doing some of these things. But of course, that's difficult to see how you can do that for an extended period of time. You might be able to do it for a few weeks, maybe even a few months, but it's not going to address the long-term issue that we're facing. As you said yourself, if this war is going to continue for 3 months, 6 months, or more than a year, then short-term rationing is not going to help you address that problem. So I think it's a short-term fix, sticking plaster, rather than a structural solution to the problem.
Okay, so that's setting me up for... I'm already worrying about my next question, which is really following on for what we were talking with Mary there about Liz Truss offered help for all. It was about £80 billion. It was vital for a large swathes of the population. Mary was saying, and I follow her logic, that such a bailout may be unaffordable. And if we're looking at a long-term conflict, I have to accept that, we couldn't. But right now, do you feel that a bailout for all, with coming maybe in late summer as energy prices start, would be more effective, more politically expedient than limiting help to those, quotes, most in need?
I think it's a bit too early to make a decision on that. So far, rises of prices have been relatively modest still. I mean, compare this back to 2022, gas prices, they increased by a factor of 10 at the worst period in that year. And gas prices have doubled now. They're not anywhere near where they used to be. Heating oil is a different story. Those prices have trebled in the UK, and they could rise much further. I think another interesting aspect to all of this is there's this sort of price rise that we've sort of talked about, where government can push some cash on the table and help people and decide, how much and when and who should get it. And that this is a very important topic. I think the other question is, will there be real physical supply constraints? We simply can't get enough oil and liquefied natural gas to the UK market. I think we're still a long way from that. But if that happened, and this has happened in previous crises, then I think we're in a very different situation where we then have to think about, which sectors really need energy, like the health service, right? Critical infrastructure, and which areas of the economy may be able to cope with less. We're not there yet, but this is, I think, what is going through people in government right now.
Could you imagine us turning the lights out like we used to do in the 70s?
Measures like that, I think, at some point will have to be on the table. There are some things we can all do to conserve energy, and we may not like it, but if it is something that we have to do in order to keep our economy running and keep the critical infrastructure running, we may have to go there. And we know how to do it from past crises. I'm not endorsing it as something I would love to do, but I think this is this is the last resort, and we may have to go there if this war continues for a very long time.
Gosh, Professor Jan Rosenow, I don't know whether the thank you is appropriate, but I appreciate the warning, and I think that will resonate with LBC listeners.